Hi, my name is Jonathan Hop. This is 10-Minute Go, where today we're going to talk about extensions for fun and profit. The clock begins now. Alright, so I've got what's called the corner enclosure here, or shimari, as it is known in Japanese. And we're going to talk about moving from the corner to the sides, right? Taking control of the side areas of the board. After you hit the corners, the side areas become the richest, most profitable areas. So you can think of Go like business, alright? So if the first person to get to a new market is usually going to be the one, if they do things right, they're going to be the one to get the most profit, all right? So the first people to do search engines, the first people to make microchips, the first people to do a lot of different things. Once they got to that business, once they found that invention, they were first, and they got an advantage because of it. So we want to be first in certain areas of the board, all right, before our opponent gets there. Now, we have this corner enclosure, and I have some letters here. I'm going to add a few more. And these are all places black could extend. So for example, black could extend at A. Or black could extend at B. Alright? So I want you to pause the video and think about this. Which of these moves is better than the others if we're going to extend along the side? Alright, so we've got a very strong corner. So the corner doesn't need any help. It does not need any reinforcement. The corner is fine. White is not going to play something insane like this. Alright? I will kill you. So the corner is pretty much safe, so we don't need to reinforce it. So if we have moves that are too close to the corner, then we're being inefficient. We're basically saying we're reinforcing something that's already strong. Okay, your castle doesn't need a sixth wing in the back. All right, you need to move your territory out into the hinterlands. So anything from A to B to C, maybe even D, would be a little bit too close, right? If you think about it this way, this is Black's original fortress. Right, here's his castle. And if you play at A, you're only expanding your territory by these two circle points. That's not a whole heck of a lot. Alright, and again, if we think about this as our castle, we're already alive. So really what would be a good thing to do is to move out as far as you can without moving out too far. If you're far enough, you get efficiency. If you're too far, then you're not really, your troops are spread out too thin, your enemy can punch through your lines. Okay, Go is a war game. Alright, so we have this 5-space extension, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-space extension, and low extension because it's 1, 2, 3 away from the edge of the board. Alright, so this would be, I would say, is an efficient way of extending along the sides. You can choose low or high. Okay, it depends on what you like. If you think that you really want to get the territory as quickly as possible, then you can choose low. If you think you want to make a really big outward territorial framework, then choose high. It's all up to you. All right, but let's say we choose low. All right, now black has what we call a wing, right? R10 is a wing. An efficient way of developing black from black's corner would be to have double wings, all right, 2 wings. Now black is extended along both sides with a strong base in the corner. And so it becomes very, very difficult for white to directly move in. All right, white can come in from the outside, maybe. All right, so once your opponent has a very strong castle, he's got his vassals on the outer lands. You can move in from the outside and try to push his border back as far as you can. But an outright invasion, that would be very difficult. So in this case, black gets this double wing formation, which is very efficient. We want to have few stones do a lot of work, all right? That's exactly what we want to think about in Go. Let's look then at an example, all right? So let's say we look at a real game. So the real opening, all right, black makes a corner enclosure, and I do recommend for beginners, playing corner enclosures at the very beginning makes the game a lot simpler. You can get some more practice, you can focus on simple concepts. Now, let's say white were to go crazy and just pass. Okay, what would black play? What would be a good move for black? Pause the video, think about it. Alright, well we have a corner enclosure here, we have our cornerstone here, so if we play a move like this, then it's a wing that extends from these pair of stones and this stone. So this would actually be a very efficient move. You could think about this, but I would prefer this because this stone is also high. So, it's not black's turn though, and white is of course going to play something. So we have to think about how we're going to extend, or how we're going to prevent our opponent's extension. One of the big things in Go is to prevent your opponent from getting too big. Don't wait until they have the castle and the moat and all of his vassals and knights are all ready to go. Stop him before he gets too big. White could, for example, extend here if he wanted to. This will be you're going to build up the left side of the board yourself. This is a wing from both of these other stones. Then black will play here, and then white can play here. That's a perfectly fine game. The only thing I would say is, though, if you're going to try to make your area bigger than black's area, then I'm going to say that black already is one move ahead of you and is going to have a little bit of an advantage. You could play this way, however. However, most people don't like to, as white, don't like to just go out and out territorial framework battle. White will play something like this, a splitting move. This is where black wanted to play, right? This is around the same area where black wanted to put his own stone, but white put a stone there himself. So now black, we can think of that the right side was possibly good framework for black, but now white is in the way. Okay, this is called a splitting move. These are really good and go, all right? So you have to think about, my opponent wanted to extend here. Well, you know what? I'm not going to let him do that. Now, from this point on, black can still extend. Okay, we might have a game like this, all right? In which case, the players will divvy up the side between themselves. And they may think, well, white doesn't seem all that impressive. Well, sure, white's not going to get most of the right side because white has 1 stone and black has 3 stones. The person with more stones is going to have the advantage. So the point really wasn't to make a big, huge thing here. The point was just to limit black's development. If you don't like the splitting move, then of course you can approach. This is kind of a new thing nowadays. And again, if you don't like any of those, you can just try to make your own territorial framework. But you got to keep in mind that you want to make certain, if you don't want your opponent to get too big, so for example, if you think that black on the right side is just too big, if you really don't feel confident about invading or reducing this territorial framework later on in the game, my advice to you, don't let it happen, all right? Don't put yourself in the position where you have to do something you don't like to do. In Go, that's a very big idea, and you can probably pull it off. I want you to try this corner enclosure out in your game. I want you to try to make extensions along the side. Remember, don't be too close, right? And don't be too far. You might be asking yourself, well, what about here, right? Why did I play here? This is as far away from this as I can get, right? And still say, listen, this white stone doesn't have any eye space. It hasn't made 2 eyes yet. And so I'm going to force it this way. You could also play from this side if you really wanted to, all right? But white's going to try to make a base. This territory here is going to have to make 2 eyes for these stones. If white gets surrounded, white must have 2 eyes. All right, so try this out in your game. All right, make certain that you extend along the big areas. Make certain that you're not too close to your corner enclosures, but not too far. And experiment. See what works in your games. All right, that's it for today's lesson. I'll see you guys next time.